The premise, the idea is we're just going to drive around. We're going to talk about high school you versus you now, the differences, your hobbies, the sports that you did,
Yeah,
anything translate over now, your goals, career, any family, all that good stuff.
sounds good.
But first, I'm having all the people I talk with, they have to sing the school song by themselves.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I'm like,
I don't even
do I
know this.
remember it?
Exactly.
Actually, I taught there, so I think I do know it.
You did
But
teach there. You did
yeah,
dance, right?
yeah, I
Oh, that's
did.
awesome.
So weird. It was a weird time.
Um,
But
okay, first though, introduce yourself, your name, what high school you went to, and then the year you graduated.
um, my name is Marcella Baugh. In high school, my last name was Mallet. Um, and I went to Mountain View High School,
Yeah.
and I graduated in 2010.
2010. Shout out
Yes.
2010. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
we
14
were
years. Can you believe that?
batchmates. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh
I
my
can't
gosh, a
even.
long time ago.
I know, right?
All right,
A
well,
whole different
let's.
life.
It really was. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the difference. Let's talk about Marcella in high school. What extracurricular activities did you do? Sports, clubs? You just brain dump. Just tell us everything.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I mainly just did dance. I was, they started the ballroom dance program my sophomore year there.
Oh, it's fairly new then.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it was like the second semester they started it, and I just tried out for the team on a whim, and I made it, and
Wow.
I was hooked from there. And
No prior experience or anything? You didn't do dance before or anything?
I mean, I did like the little toddler classes when I
A
was
long time ago.
like a child, yeah. But yeah, I just didn't. I never did any other dance, and then started in just like the social dance class that
Mm-hmm.
was there that they offered in the high school, and then they said they wanted to do a team, and yeah,
That interested you just right away? You're like, oh, I'm so down for that.
I actually tried out because of a boy.
Oh, did you really? Is his name
Yeah.
safe to say?
Mm,
You don't have to say
let's
it.
not say it.
Is it too personal? I'll have that person on
Yeah,
next. Be like, hey,
no.
guess what?
No, I mean, yeah, I tried out because he was trying out, and I made it, and
Did he make it too?
he did
Were you
actually.
guys dance partners?
Not for a lot. He was a senior when I
Oh,
was a
senior.
sophomore. Yeah, so
Interesting. I bet I
yeah,
could figure it out.
you could probably.
Yeah, the high school wasn't that big.
Yeah,
That's kind of funny.
it was. It's pretty small, but yeah. So then after that, I just really fell in love with dance and kind of decided to put all my eggs in that basket, and I did it all throughout high school. Like I did it all through.
Sophomore and up.
Yeah.
Holy
So
cow.
and then yeah, I after that I graduated. Right, we graduated, and I went
Mm-hmm.
on and majored in it in college. And
Oh, you majored in it. What college did you
yeah,
go to?
I went to UVU.
Oh, nice. Me too.
Yeah.
And you actually graduated. You went through the whole thing. You got all that done.
I actually didn't graduate with my degree. It is an interesting story, but
Let's hear it. What's the story?
well, I I went and majored in it, and I made it onto the tour team there
Mm-hmm.
after a couple of semesters, and we had this instructor that was just really, I felt, did a lot of things that were unethical
Oh,
and was kind of abusive to the dancers.
wow, man.
And I reported him to the department head, and he found out, and it got really messy, and I kind of got blackballed from the program.
You
So
got blackballed or he did?
I did.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
For reporting this dude, he was doing some shady
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. He just was like,
Oh my gosh.
he was asking inappropriate questions, and like kind of like telling girls about like, lose weight before concert and all this stuff. And it was just like,
Oh man.
it was really an unhealthy environment, and I just felt like I had to say something.
So what happened to this dude? You got kicked out, but
Yeah.
anything happened to this guy?
Like a few years later, he ended up being asked to leave.
Mm.
So, and I, like, some people have said that it's because of, like, I kind of started, I put
Kind of
him
like
on
the
the,
domino, right?
yeah,
It just kind of just happened after that.
yeah. So I, like, kind of put it on the radar, and then it was, like, because it was, like, the first time that he had been reported, it wasn't like they didn't look into it as much, but then after that, they started seeing a pattern, and so yeah, and so he doesn't work there anymore. But
Good. At least you got something done there, though. That's good.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Were you how tragic was it though that you got blackballed from the dance team over
Oh
there?
my
That's kind of a
gosh,
big deal.
it was really sad because
Oh my gosh.
it was like my dream, like
Yeah.
to dance for UVU and to dance on their team and to go they on their touring team they go to Blackpool, and I was blackballed from the program like right before they went to
Oh
Blackpool,
man.
and it was really hard because then I could also not take any of my major classes because it was just like a hostile environment, and so I had to like switch majors, which and I was like a
Man.
junior. I was almost
You were
done.
a junior at this point?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I
Good
was
for you to do that though. That takes a lot of guts to
um,
report something like that and then be affected later on. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like I think you did a lot. I think
yeah.
you did a lot of good over there. What it
Thanks.
seems like. So
I just felt like it was just like really hard because I had put all of this work in.
yeah.
Like I had started this from when I was like a sophomore, working up to this, and then have it be like,
Gone just like that.
yeah, I'm like
That's
my
actually so messed up from the school
yeah,
to just do
yeah,
that.
my scholarship got taken away too, and
Oh
it was a rough time, but yeah,
man. So then after that, you went to Mountain View to teach over
yeah.
there. How'd that work out?
So I actually did not plan. I did not expect to get the job at Mountain View at all.
So you applied, and then you're just like,
Yeah.
if it happens, it happens.
So yeah, because the director, Mr. Young or Andy Young, he was leaving the program, and he kind of just sent out a thing to people like his fellow dancers, you know.
Yeah.
And I was actually dancing with Andy with him on the tour team at UVU at
Oh,
the
okay.
time too. So that was kind of interesting. But he just said like, "Hey, if you guys are interested, I'm leaving this program. If the job's open, if you want to apply." Right?
Uh-huh.
And so I was kind of like, "Oh, I'll apply just to see like, get experience
Mm-hmm.
in like applying for jobs and applying for like directors of dance programs and things like that."
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it was so crazy because it was like Peter Glahn was the administrator that was like interviewing for the job, and Belinda.
But he was interviewing for the job. Glon was.
Well, no, he was the one that was
Oh, he was
interviewing
being
me.
the in.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
So
I gotcha. I
yeah,
was like,
so it
I
was
can't imagine that guy dancing.
yeah, yeah. So it was yeah, Mr. Glahn and I think this is Talonia, like Belinda Talonia.
Huh.
Yeah, so they interviewed me, which they were administrators there when we were in high school, so that was kind of weird.
To
But
come back and be the,
yeah,
hey, I want this job.
yeah, like hi, do you remember me?
Yeah.
Like but like Mr. Clotten was like at the time he was like when we were in high school he was like one of those tracker people that like tracked,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
he was like my tracker and would be like, why aren't you going to class and stuff, like I was like not a really great student. So to come back,
We'll dive into that.
yeah, to come back to like interview with him was like really nerve-wracking. I was
Very
like,
surreal experience,
I
I'm
know.
sure.
I was like, I'm not gonna get this job because he's gonna.
He knows my history.
Yeah, he knows
how I was
me.
as a student.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, but then like they called me and they were like, "Hey, we want to offer you this job," and I
no way.
actually was like, "Are you sure you have the right person?" Like,
wait, really?
yeah, I was like, "This is Marcella, you know that, right?" And he's like, "Yes." So, yeah, and so then I taught there for 5 years.
5 years? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. What years were those?
2014.
2014 and 19?
Yes.
Wow, that's a long time. So what got you away from that job?
I was gonna have a second child.
Pregnancy got in the way.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's exciting.
Well, and I had my first while I was teaching there, and it was like,
How hard was that?
it was difficult because it was such a demanding job, and it wasn't just like school hours. It was like concert and
That takes
like,
a lot of time.
tour and competition. Yeah, exactly. And so it was hard to like kind of balance that and make sure that I was home enough. And so I figured it was going to be a lot harder with another child. So then just decided
to take a break.
Yeah. And then just haven't worked since then.
Yeah, we're. I mean, you seem busy. You got your Instagram stuff going on, which I want to talk about. But
Yeah.
were there any plans of coming back to teach dance at any point, or was it just like this chapter of my life is done? I'm gonna flip the page and move on.
I wanted to come back and teach like private lessons and not like a team and or at like
Oh,
a
cool.
school.
Yeah.
And I would still love to do that at some point, but it's just not the season of life for that right now.
That's right. The season of life. There's a lot of different
Yeah.
seasons, and I
Yeah.
can see how busy that is. My two girls. I have three girls. Two of them are in dance,
Mm-hmm.
and man, the practices and the dress rehearsals. There's a dance concert. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
And we've taken our girls in the morning to do the dress rehearsals, and it's only 15 minutes, but you got to be there 15 minutes early, and then afterwards, tomorrow we got to be there X amount of time early. Anyways, it's busy. I can only imagine how it is for the instructors.
It is a huge time commitment.
Yeah,
And
really
to
is.
like instructors, you're like doing the lighting and making sure the music's all and like all the things, the costumes. There's so much prep for it. So
Yeah, and it didn't seem like you dealt with like little kids. So I've got a 7 and a 5-year-old.
yeah.
I can only imagine how busy it would be to try to corral those little kids. Be like, okay, now this is where you enter and this is where you exit. This is like, oh.
You know, I think that the one thing that would be fun about that though is that you only have like one class, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are your girls like on a company? Are they?
It's not
class?
I don't think it's a company. It's Studio 22.
Okay. So if they like are just in a dance class and they're just performing, you just have like one class. You just have to work with that one class.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
But like for a company, you're like doing multiple numbers.
It's even more.
Yeah. So when I was teaching and coaching the team at Mountain View, it was like the whole concert was just them, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was like we do like 18 to 20 numbers in the concert and making sure everyone has costumes and all the lighting is correct, all the music's right, and and then selling the tickets for the like
it's just everything. You're doing everything at that point.
It was a lot more than I like ever wanted to do. Like I just wanted to dance, and then all of a sudden it was like, now you have to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So
I never really got into dance until I got married and started watching, and this is my whole dance experience until my girls got into it.
Yeah.
But So You Think You Can Dance? No, what is it? Yeah, So You Think You Can Dance. That show's the coolest show ever.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think as like a professional dancer, but like when I see that, I'm like, wow, these guys are so talented.
Yeah.
A whole other world.
I think it is really cool. I think So You Think You Can Dance is cool because it's like it exposes you to other dance styles.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting because being in the dance world, like I've known people who have been on the show.
Oh, really?
And like, yeah, and it's cool to see their journey and to see them like know them before that and like know their training and their history and what it took to get onto the show and then everything they did to like try to stay on the show and everything like that. So yeah, it's a cool show. I like it.
Would you ever do something like that if you didn't have other commitments?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I kind of enjoy a little bit of anonymity. Like,
I get it.
So, yeah.
Like I do it just to dance because I enjoy it and I don't really want to take it further than that.
Yeah, like
I want to get all famous.
I feel like in high school I did have like the like idea that like I want to be like a professional dancer. I want to be a famous dancer. But like as you know, life went on, I was like I kind of enjoy not like the pressure of not having that. Like like what am I trying to say? But not having the pressure of that.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
And that's another question. So like the hobbies, the clubs, the sports that you do now, how it translates to what you do now. Mm-hmm. So there's a point, obviously you were teaching, you were coaching, you were dancing at UVU. Mm-hmm. Your point now, is there anything that you do now that did translate over from that dancing activity to now, or are you not dancing so much anymore?
Well, I am not dancing currently. Mm-hmm. I do think one of the things that I like in high school when I decided to like focus on dance, it was kind of like I'm gonna put everything in this and like be dedicated to it. And I think that has helped me in life to like understand what it's like to really work hard at something. Yeah. And so like that skill that I learned from dance is like has translated to the other things that I've been doing in my life.
It's a big deal. Translates over.
Yeah.
So that's something you would recommend for anyone to do? Well, actually, recommend for your kids to do? Is that something you're going to have them do when they get into high school and their later years in life?
I think that, yeah, I think whatever they are passionate about, I want them to understand what it's like to like go all in and like to work really hard at it and to know what it's like to be successful at something. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of times with high school students, especially when I was teaching high school, it was kind of like, oh, just try everything and kind of like do whatever. But that, I felt like that kind of, for a lot of my students, didn't prepare them for their next step in life. It didn't like prepare them to like major in something in college and like only be focusing on that thing and like understand what it's like to just like zero in on something. That makes
really
sense?
Focusing on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So for my kids, I'm like, whatever you're passionate about, if you're passionate about it for like just a little bit, we're going to go all in.
Let's focus. Hey, I like that.
Yeah. Let's focus on it. And so that whatever your next passion is, you know what it's like to focus on that.
And work towards it.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Exactly.
Are they showing any sort of interest in dance in particular or any other kind of activities like that?
No. So they're not interested in dance. My kids are not interested in dance, which is fine. Like,
you come to terms with it?
Yeah. like my daughter, I've tried to get, she's like 3, right?
Okay, she's a little younger.
Yeah. But I'm like, let's go take a dance class. And she's like, I hate it.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah. But I'm like
That's
hoping that maybe, but also I'm like, whatever you guys want to do. Like, my second is really into soccer. Like, really loves soccer. And so he's done like just the city leagues and then, or like the rec league, and then a couple of soccer camps and things like that. And
but he's really liking it.
He really likes it. And then my
That's
oldest is really into art.
Oh, really? So artistic style.
Yeah. So
that's fun.
He's been able to do like some like markets and like sell some of his art, which is really cool.
How old is he?
He's turning 8 in July.
You have an 8-year-old. Is that your oldest?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Isn't it unreal how you just have, you have 3 kids?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's so crazy.
14 years later.
I know, right?
It's funny about dance and your daughter though, because
Can I drink this? Okay.
Oh yes, we have drinks.
Okay.
Tell us about your drink. You're the first person to request fizz, actually.
Oh yeah.
You get a lot of swig and a lot of Sodalicious, but tell us about your drink.
I like fizz because I feel like they don't skimp on the syrup.
Oh, so it's a lot more flavor to it.
Yeah, and I feel like the other places kind of like are
it's like watered down almost.
Yeah, and
I'm excited to try.
Like if I'm gonna get a mix of soda, it's gotta taste like the mix. Yeah,
I agree. But about your daughter and dance, that's the way my dad felt with soccer. He put us into soccer and wanted us to be into soccer and was all about it. And then we're like, I don't like it. I know he never outwardly like was super disappointed, but I can tell it's like he wanted his boys to play soccer and that never happened.
I think that there is something special about like bonding over a hobby with your child. You know what I mean? And because I think children are so, I mean, they come as they are, right? They have their own personalities, and so even as their parent, you're just trying to like connect with them, and so to find something that is common ground between the two of you is really exciting.
There's a special bond for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know.
And it's parents pivot, right? Because my dad, I got into baseball later in my life, and then he was my baseball coach for a while, and he went all in, learned the rules, learned everything, and it was really fun to do that. So,
that's awesome.
With my girls, they like dance. Obviously, wasn't into dance, but I'm 100% supporting them. My oldest is into art as well, so she loves drawing all the time. Yeah. So I'm like always going to support her, get her whatever she needs to draw. And then my second, she's just a fireball. She has so much energy. There's one day I was like, okay, I'm not going to say no to this girl. Whatever she asks to do, I'm just going to say yes and try to keep up with her. Yeah. I was exhausted at the end of the day. And then she was still bouncing off the wall. I'm just like, oh.
She's like, this is the best day ever. Probably.
Giving her more energy and just like, this is supposed to tire you out.
Yeah. My second is like that too, actually. He's like our very social child. And it's like more social than I'm social. and it's like kind of exhausting a little bit.
Does he go up to like random people and just starts talking to them, and then you have to go talk to them?
Yeah, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I told this person," like, and he like memorized my phone number. He's like, "I told this person your phone number so that we can do a play date with." I'm like, "Please don't do that."
That's so good. That happens to my wife. My wife is the most antisocial person. Which she can be social when she needs to be, but this girl just like goes and just makes friends with literally everybody.
Yeah, and then now you have to be friends with them.
Exactly. I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep up.
It's like,
keep up with her.
Kind of like stop going places, so you stop making friends.
Exactly, and then just become a recluse in your own house. Yes. So that's how it translated over. You're trying to get to your 3-year-old. Doesn't seem super interested. Maybe, hopefully, down the road, she's interested.
Yeah.
Now, what in high school? What goals? I guess what career did you want to have? I mean, you wanted to be a dancer. Was there anything beyond that you wanted to be like? Oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a whatever. Anything in high school that you tried to get to?
I think that like I did like the internship class, and I did it at the hospital, and I was like convinced that I was going to be a nurse for a minute.
Whoa, nurse! Where'd that come from?
I don't know. I really don't.
It was just a random like, oh, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But then I did the internship and I hated it. Like I did not like.
That's a good way to find out what you like and don't like.
Yeah, and I just like on the internship, I was like on the oncology floor because that's the only one that you could do if you weren't 18 at the time, right? And so I was on the oncology floor on the first day. Somebody died on the oncology.
On the first day for you?
Yeah, and I like cried, and they were like, "You have to go home."
So, not interested in this anymore.
Yeah. Oh, so I was like, apparently I can't do that because I can't handle that. So.
Yeah, this is not for me.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so that got squashed really fast.
Really quickly. And
anything else in high school that you were somewhat drawn to or trying to figure out what you liked and didn't like?
I was also in orchestra for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did you play?
I played the violin.
Do you still play?
No. I mean, I can still play it, but I don't still,
regularly go out and practice and stuff.
I actually started violin when I was like 12.
Whoa, so fairly young.
Yeah. And then that was like one of the first things that I was really like hyper focused on. Like I really wanted to be a violinist.
Do you have any family that played violin and that's what got you into it, or was it just hey, I'm going to try this out and you ended up really liking it? Yeah,
I think it was my elementary school. They were like, we have an orchestra, but they didn't really have an orchestra. It was like me and like 2 other girls.
So it was 3 of you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And like one of them played the viola and the other one played the cello and I played the violin. And
nice.
Yeah, and so we would just they were like, you're a pretty good musician, like you should come and like try the violin, and I did it and I liked it a lot. And I was living in Rhode Island at the time, actually. And
are you from Rhode Island?
No.
Your family lived there for just a little bit, I guess, though?
Yeah, my dad was in the Navy.
Oh.
And so he was stationed there. And so we lived there while he was stationed there. And
how long were you guys there for?
For 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then straight to Utah, or did you guys go somewhere between Rhode Island and Utah?
Yeah, my dad retired when we lived in Rhode Island, and we moved here to Utah for his retirement.
Oh, nice. What brought you guys to Utah? Did you have family here already?
My sister wanted to go to BYU, and my sister, she was like 18 at the time. So she wanted to go to BYU, and so we moved here because she wanted to go there. And then she ended up not going there.
She didn't go to BYU, but you guys were already here.
Yeah. She ended up going to BYU, Idaho, actually.
Oh, okay.
So it was like...
She was trying to get married, or what was she getting into?
She was going into architecture.
Oh.
But I guess, I don't know. I don't really know what happened. I was pretty young during that time.
It just didn't work out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she went to BYU, Idaho, and then she came here. Now she's a photographer. But...
Oh, what a crazy world.
Yeah.
Rhode Island, BYU here, BYU, Idaho, and now she's a photographer.
Yeah.
Good for her. That's fun.
Yeah. And so, so I did violin for a little bit and was trying to do those 2 things at the same time in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then just didn't, I just felt like I was more passionate about dance. And so I just...
let go of the violin for a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did.
So that was high school you. What do you do now? I know you're pretty active in social media. That's one thing. I'm sure there's a lot of
Yeah.
other things, but what do you do now?
Well, I am a stay-at-home mom, and
Shout out stay home moms.
yeah,
That's all our job. Gosh.
I also have like a really small art business where I make like apparel and
Oh,
bookmarks
nice.
and things like that, and sell that online.
What got you into that?
Um, I just I felt like I wanted certain designs on shirts and things, but I wasn't like seeing it. So I just
So you did
decided,
it yourself.
yeah. So I was
That's
like,
cool.
I just want to make this for me. And then I started making them, and people were like, I would buy that. And so I started selling them. So,
No way.
yeah.
How long have you been doing that for?
I started the business last year. So it's very small. It's kind of like a struggling artist account.
I'm gonna
But,
check it out. I'm gonna check it
yeah.
out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
It's called Little Warrior Art
I like
on
it. I like it.
Instagram. Yeah,
I'm gonna look it up.
Yes. And then I am a book reviewer.
Which is awesome. I was
Yeah.
looking at your Instagram account today, and you got
Yeah.
you got a big following.
Yeah.
Pretty good niche there.
I started Instagram like I was already like reading a lot of books and just basically just doing book reviews on my Instagram. So
Mhm.
I just decided I was like, why don't I just like switch this over to just posting about books and stuff.
Mhm.
So I switched it over in February, and
That was the switch.
yeah,
And
and
you haven't looked back.
yeah, in February I had like 300 followers,
Mhm.
and I think right now I'm like almost at 4,000.
Whoa, seriously? Since February?
Yeah,
That's
since
fast.
February.
That's
Yeah,
huge.
it was.
Congrats on that. That's a big deal.
Thanks.
It's exciting
I did
stuff.
not really expect it to go
To
anywhere.
just blow up.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, this is what I do anyway, so I'm just gonna like,
I'm just gonna put it out there now.
yeah, and
That's
then
cool.
yeah, and so I've been able to work with like some big publishing houses, and
Really?
yeah, so I do what's called advanced reader copies.
Okay. What's that?
And so I read books before they are published, and I review them.
You get like they give it to you first before it even comes out?
Yeah.
Whoa,
So
that's really cool.
I'll get like copies of whatever book they're trying to promote,
Uh-huh.
and like for yeah, so they send it to me for free in exchange for my review.
Whoa,
So
that's a big deal.
yeah,
That's cool. What kind of books? So what kind of books are they sending you?
I get everything. So I get everything between like fantasy and romance and like just literary fiction. Sometimes I get some like middle grade books, and
Wow.
I get everything.
So you started this in February,
Mhm.
and then you're just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm reviewing books, and then
Yeah.
these companies just started contacting you and saying, hey, can we send you this in
Well,
exchange for a review?
I kind of like most publishers, what they do, they have like a application where it's like, I review books, I would like to basically review any books that you have, and then they
Cool.
send you some trial books and stuff like that. And so I started doing that, and yeah, people, they just started sending me books.
More and more and more. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
exciting.
I've been able to work with some authors, like directly with some authors, to get some of their books into some readers, like in the hands of readers, and it's been pretty cool.
That's a big deal. Did you
Yeah.
ever think you were going to be doing that?
No, I did not.
That's so crazy. Just
I
all of a
did
sudden
not.
happened.
Yeah.
How exciting is that?
Well, it's been really cool because I've been able to like connect with a lot of Filipino bookstagrammers,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Which here in Utah, there's not a lot of Filipinos around.
Mhm.
So I kind of another bookstagrammer like messaged me and was like, hey, I'm also Filipino, and I was like, oh, that's cool, like we should see if there's any other Filipinos.
Yeah.
And so we just like, I like made a post and was like, hey, if anybody is interested, if you're a Filipino bookstagrammer, like let's connect. And it started off with like maybe like 7 people in the group, and now we
Mhm.
have like over 100 members of our
All
group.
here from Utah.
No, they're like all over the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we have like some people in Canada and Australia, and a lot of people in the Philippines, a lot of people in California, like all over the U.S.
And you started this with one other person, just create this
Yeah.
community. How? Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty special.
I've loved it. It's been cool because I've been able to like talk to, because I feel like representation is really important.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to find books that are representative of Filipinos and Filipino culture, and then also like creators online that are Filipino and not just like bookstagrammers, but like also artists.
Just outside of just books, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's been really cool. So
what's the goal with this Instagram page? We just make this community even bigger, or is it more just like you're kind of taking it as it comes?
I really am just kind of taking it as it comes.
Cool.
I actually really just started it because I wanted to get free books.
Is that the reason?
Yeah. So,
what better ways? Like, I'll write some reviews for you.
Yeah, I'll write reviews for books if you give me your free books, and then it just kind of got a little bit.
It just got bigger, just a little out of hand, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you have this community and
big
following.
Yeah.
How
I think
awesome is that?
The interesting thing about it is that, like, in terms of social media, like, most times people would call my account a small account, right? But like I always feel like it's like if 4,000 people came and like saw what I was doing and wanted to like listen to me, yeah, I would be very overwhelmed. Like,
you know what I mean? That's not a small group.
Yeah, if I was like speaking somewhere and there was like 4,000 people, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
That's such a great way to look at that. Even if it's like 300, 200, all in one room, they're all paying attention to you. That's a lot of eyeballs on you.
Even like 50. Like
50 is a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. And so
that's a great way to look at that.
Try to put it in perspective. Be like, I have a pretty big following. In social media terms, maybe not, but like 4,000 people is a lot of people.
that is a lot of people. I think I only have like maybe 300, but to me, it's like it's not like I'm trying to get all famous or anything. Again, it's just more just about the conversations that I want to have with people.
Yeah.
And catch up with everyone. And if it grows, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay too.
That's cool. Hopefully, some of my people will follow you.
Yeah, that's the only reason why you're here.
Yeah, because apparently I have a big Instagram account.
I need your following. So tell me about the books though that you. So what's your favorite type of book that you're into? Genre, author, series. What are you into right now?
I love reading fantasy, and my goal in like reading books is the idea of like, how do I put this? I believe in stories, and I believe that stories can be very powerful, and I think books can be like a window into somebody's like perspective, or it can be like a chance for you to see yourself in a situation that you wouldn't, that you haven't been able to before.
Interesting. Right? Yeah.
And so I think that whenever I am reading a book, I'm trying to, I guess, be able to connect with the story and be able to like expand my worldview and my ability to connect with people and my ability to to understand other people.
Yeah.
And so I feel like books are a great way to do that, because there are times where don't really have access to a lot of, I guess, these situations that you are trying to understand, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
because your world could be so small, right? Like you're just in this community, this is where you grew up, but outside of that, you don't have very many experiences, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so when I'm reading, I try to like get books by diverse authors and like diverse stories and things like that, and but I like fantasy even though it's like fake. But
it's still fun, very enjoyable.
It is fun, and they also have like a lot of parallels to like what's going on in the world, and that's often how people kind of like, I guess, cope with what's happening and try to understand what's happening, is they like put it in a story.
Yeah,
so
that's a good way to put that.
Oh.
So somebody who, I think the extent of my fantasy experience is like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, which Lord of the Rings is awesome.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings is a great series.
What is a book recommendation that you would recommend somebody who's just wanting to get into fantasy?
Ooh, I think that's really hard because
There's probably a lot of
yeah, well, and I think that like books are so like personal, right? Like stories
yeah,
are personal, and the stories that you're going to connect to as a person is going to be completely different than what I'm going to connect to.
true. Yeah.
But if you're trying out like fantasy and the last thing you read was like Harry Potter, um, I would say like some middle grade fantasies are really good, and also YA fantasies are really good.
Why? What's that?
Oh, young adult fantasies.
Oh, young adult. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, there is there. My favorite book to recommend is Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It's a fantasy. It's really good. So,
Who's the author for that one?
Su Lin Tan.
Su Lin Tan. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll have to try that one out then.
Yes.
Listen to it while I'm driving around.
It's like a romance fantasy.
I'll listen with it. I'll listen to it with my wife.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Does your wife read books?
She does. She
yeah.
is all about. Oh man, I forgot the author. There's a specific author that she really likes, but it's kind of like that's like not necessarily fantasy, but it's also, I don't know. I'm doing a terrible job. She's gonna watch this and get mad that I don't know the author's name. She loves those books, but she's into it.
Maybe I can guess. There's a really popular author right now. It's Sarah J. Maas. She's very popular. Court of Thorns and Roses. A lot of people are reading her.
That one does not ring a bell, but I think my sister-in-law's reading that one.
Oh, yeah. I don't like those ones.
You don't like those ones? How come?
I don't know. It's just like something about the writing just doesn't.
The style just doesn't really vibe with you.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird to be like on Bookstagram and like not like a book that is like, or a series popular or author. Now. Yeah, it's like super popular. There's like
really?
Sarah J. Maas is like, if you don't like her, they'll like crucify you.
Is that okay? I'll make sure to bleep this one off. This section, I've edited it out.
Like, don't let people know that I don't like Sarah J. Maas.
Your following just drops down to like 50 people. Like,
yeah,
I was just kidding.
No,
Okay, so I've got two questions for you, high school related. So, first one is, if you could go back to your high school self, what's one piece of advice that you would give that person, yourself?
Go to class more.
Go to class more. Did you really like skip out a lot in class?
Oh my gosh, I think that.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I was there like less than half the time.
You still graduated? How'd you pull that off?
Well, I did a lot of packets.
Packets, that's what it was.
Lots and lots of packets. I basically did like my whole junior and senior year in like 2 days doing packets.
Then what's the point of you going to school if you can just finish those packets?
Well, they can't. You don't do that. You can't do that anymore.
Oh, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. So when I started teaching high school, they were like, they got really strict on like the classroom hours. Like you have to be in the classroom a certain amount of hours, and if you don't, then you can't graduate, like type of thing. So, but like when we were in high school, it was like if you failed the class or if you like weren't going, you could like challenge the course and just take the ending test.
Yes.
And then like if you passed that, then that you got all the credit for the course, right? But you can't do that anymore.
They're a little more strict with that. Okay, so go to school. What would you do? Now this is a total Utah word, but slough. When you were sloughing, what would you be doing? You just stay home and sleep or something?
No, I would. Oh my gosh, this is like so embarrassing. I mean, I do whatever. Also, I had boyfriends in high school.
So just hang out with them and they just sloughing and you guys just hanging out.
Yes.
Oh,
so
man.
That's a good, just hanging out.
That's a good one. That's the PG version of it. That's hilarious. Do you, speaking of ex-boy, because it's always so funny because high school is like, you think you're in, I don't know about your situation, but you think you're in love, but it's like, what does love really mean? And like that definition of love at that time just means something so much smaller than how you love your spouse now.
Yeah.
Right? So do you keep in touch with any of your exes, or do you talk to them, or do you have a kind of a mutual relationship now, or how does that look for you guys?
I think I've talked to a couple of them, but it's not like we're like buddy, like friends, but like I've been able to like say hi to them at like functions and like
It's cordial. You guys are
connecting.
both just like, okay,
Yeah.
we had our fun in high school, and now
Yeah,
I
but
moved on. That's
oh my
funny.
gosh, dating history in high school.
Did you date a lot of people in high school?
Yes.
Did you really? I was so oblivious to everything in high school. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I had my fun in high school.
Well, good. That's fun. That's how it should be, right? Because you get
Yeah.
older and you got to grow up. You have
Yes.
a family. You have kids. Be
Yeah.
responsible. So
I think what you're saying about like love in high school, I think that like as a teenager, it was like I didn't really have a concept of what love could be, but that was like the most that I like when I was like with somebody, like had a boyfriend, it was like that was the most that I felt at the time.
yeah,
And so I
to
felt
your
like,
understanding, right? So
yeah, yeah. And so I was like, when people like ask like, oh, did you love them? I was like, well, according to what I knew at the time, that yes, I did. Like I believe that I did, and I don't believe that like teenagers don't know how to love or they don't know what love is because they have a capacity and they love to the capacity. And
that's a great way to put that.
Yeah. So I think it just
To that capacity, that's where you love that person. You cared for him, and even
Yeah.
now, it's like, oh, I wish them the best, right?
Yeah. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Like we were a part of each other's lives, and now we're not, and that's fine.
And high school's a okay. We're back. Hopefully, okay. I saw the other video was there still, so we should be good. Okay, so last question. So, how do I phrase this? If your high school self saw where you are now, how do you think they would react?
Well, knowing myself in high school, I think that my high school self would be disappointed that I didn't accomplish being a professional dancer.
Okay.
Like, but I think that they like me. Like I would, I guess, be proud of where I've been able to pivot my life, right? Because I think that in high school, I definitely had a lot of like I had a hard time like standing up for myself and like kind of standing up for my morals and what I believed in. And I think that the idea of everything that happened in college and what I like ended up doing that kind of like pivoted my life off of that plan. I think that it would have been they would have like my high school self would be like, I'm disappointed that you weren't able to be a dancer, but proud of you for what you stood up for. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's huge. Initial shock of like, wait, we're not dancers?
Yeah.
I'm not a dancer?
Yeah.
But then take a closer look and really see what you accomplished. Because really that UVU thing, I want to dive into that one of these days. We're going to have to do this again because I want to dive deeper into that. That's huge. That really affected your life.
It did.
It's kind of crazy.
It really changed like everything. Like it changed my career path. It changed like whether or not I graduated in college because I had to start all the way over. Like I couldn't like because all my dance credits, like even if I changed majors, they wouldn't have transferred over to another major. Geez. And so it was like I went from being a junior to being like a freshman again.
Starting like, all the way over again.
All the way over.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was rough.
That's crazy. Well, seriously though, props to you that you spoke up and said something. I don't know how the vibe was with the other girls there, the other people there, the other dancers. Maybe they were too scared to say something, but the fact that you actually said something, that speaks volumes about the type of person that you are. Oh. So I think that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, that's a big deal. So.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, last thing. Any shout outs that you want to do, Marcella? Your Instagram page or pages, people, anything?
Yeah. I guess shout out to the Filipino community on Bookstagram. Nice. They basically are the only reason why I'm on there now. I took off my microphone.
Oh,
sorry.
Good.
Sorry.
All good.
Yeah. And shout out to class of 2010.